We're about to preview the Cowboys' Week 2 matchup against the New Orleans Saints. We need your help to ensure a win. We have the data to prove it. The more likes we get, the more likely it is that the Dallas Cowboys beat the New Orleans Saints. So like today's video more than any other video you've liked before. The Cowboys are back at home for the season opening game at AT&T Stadium out in Arlington, Texas. They are a 6.5-point favorite against the New Orleans Saints, who played one of the best games in all of Week 1. Also might just be that Carolina's bad. We'll talk about that here more in depth in a second. 45.5 is the over-under as of filming this. It might ebb and flow a little bit there. There's some injury question marks we'll get to as part of today's show as well. But I thought the Cowboys and the Saints too, going back and watching, both those teams, I should say, had a very strong performance. Cowboys, 5th in scoring offense now, tied for 7th in defense. Saints 1 and tied for 2nd. Cowboys were road underdogs against the Cleveland Browns. What'd they do? Went out and manhandled them. That game was over basically at halftime. Browns didn't have a 10% win probability and after like the 2.5-minute mark of the first half. They dominated. So did the Saints. 47-10. He had 47-10 and 200 passing yards from Derek Carr, who was very good in that game, by the way. Almost got the rare more touchdowns than incompletions in that matchup. This might just be a bad Panthers team. The defense also lost Derek Brown. Carolina's in for a really, really rough year. Very impressed by how good the Saints looked in Week 1. But this is a much tougher test for the Saints against a actually good team in the Cowboys versus the Carolina Panthers. Some injuries to watch I want to mention here. John Stevens Jr. has the hamstring injury. TBD if he'll be back. Jake Ferguson's going to be a real questionable, if not a doubtful. If this were a playoff game, he could probably play through the sprained MCL and the bone bruise in Week 2. Maybe that's not a path you want to actually pursue. A.T. Perry has a hand injury. Worth monitoring is Marshon Lattimore. Hamstring injury that he suffered in that game. Left, did not return. Saints have called it minor. It's also Week 2, and they need him against CeeDee Lamb, but that is one to monitor with just how effective and if he can even play going forward. Foster Moreau had a head injury, so TBD on his availability. We'll know more as the week goes along. Before we get into some keys to victory, we're bringing it back. I want you guys to type in F-Trace in the comments. Trace is our Saints host. Good guy, but not this week. He sucks. Spam F-Trace for me in the comments section of today's show. The most comments gets a free raffle entry into our giveaway this Sunday. So if the ad comes on YouTube, take advantage and go do it. Let's talk keys to victory here. Number 1, pressure Derek Carr. The Cowboys, this was the key to victory last week. Pressure Deshaun Watson. It worked in spades. It might not be as effective this week, but it certainly is worth monitoring in terms of the impact for Derek Carr. Derek Carr, when he has time, is a pretty solid quarterback. And he makes throws, he makes plays. I still have a ton of PTSD over the flag-filled game that against the Raiders, it was just underthrown deep ball after underthrown deep ball. That pissed me off to no end. I swear to God, if it happens again, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. But you can pressure him. Guess what the Panthers didn't do in Week 1? They pressured him 3 times the entire game. That was it. They didn't get after him at all. He was 2 of 2 under pressure, had a bomb on a touchdown throw to Rashid Shaheed on a busted coverage by Carolina. He did take 1 sack, though. Now, compare that to his more valuable sample size numbers back in 2023. 49% completion rate under pressure, 877 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 17.1% sack rate. He actually took more sacks when blitzed than just when under pressure. I think you'll see Mike Zimmer dial up some blitz packages there. Derek Carr tends to struggle, like a lot of quarterbacks do, to be fair, when you can disguise your stuff and throw stuff at him post-snap. I think you will see something very similar come from Mike Zimmer's game plan in week 2 from what you saw this week. Maybe a little bit even more disguises, more pressure packages. I think they will try to get after him as best as possible. Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by Prize Picks. It is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. Thing I like most about Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. You're not battling thousands of other players to finish top 2 or 5% to win whatever. You just have to beat the numbers. I also love one of their September promos. It is the Caleb Williams freebie, basically. Needs 1 passing yard to get you a win. That's pretty straightforward. Got some college football picks as well here. Got Travis Hunter more than receiving yards in a rivalry game. They're going to force feed him. And Quinn Ewers. UTC's not very good. I think he balls out in the first 3 quarters. I'll go the more than as well on that one. Download the Prize Picks app if you haven't already today at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS over on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. That code and the URL will be in the comments and the description of today's show. Key to victory number 2, better third down play. This, I think, was one of the biggest areas where your offense struggled. And the Cowboys' offense in general has leaned pretty damn heavily on third downs as how they move the ball. It's probably more than you'd like to have overall. In week 1, before Monday Night Football, Dak and the Cowboys' offense were bad on third downs. They simply didn't convert enough of them. They had minus 5.95 expected points added per play. That was 25th out of the 30 qualifying quarterbacks on the Running Backs Don't Matter site. They just weren't good enough on third downs. From an efficiency perspective, they were 4 of 14. That's a bad third down game. Browns were worse, but they were not very good. Last year, the Cowboys and Dak Prescott were the best third down offense in football, plus .433 EPA per play. Third and Dak is the reason why they moved the ball on offense, period, last year. You need more of that. It's tough to win games when you get 14 third downs and you only get 4 of them. Week 1 was the exception. Got to be better in week 2. So do you think the offense will improve in the second week of the season? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comments of today's video. One way to get better on offense, especially given the uncertain at best status of Jake Ferguson, let's feed C.D. Lamb. He was involved in week 1, 5 catches, 61 yards, 3 carries, 25 yards. He was also targeted in total 10 times, only caught half of those. That's a low figure for the Dak and Lamb connection. Some rust, I think, from both players, frankly. Maybe some connection issues because they didn't do anything really in training camp. Happens. The frustrating part of, the holdout that you had there probably impacted week 1 a little bit. That's what the Jones boys might try to say. Force feed CeeDee Lamb. Cooks had 7 targets. Overall was pretty solid. Fergie had 5. Up those touches. CeeDee Lamb should get 15 touches a game. Targets, if you want to include carries too. I like getting involved on the ground. I like that a lot, actually, for Lamb. But he should have 7-8 catches every game at minimum. So you want to move the ball better on offense? Get Lamb going. The Browns defense is better than the Saints defense. The Saints defense is good. I don't want to ignore that part, but you got to get CeeDee Lamb going. When there's Cowboys news, folks, we have you covered. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Another big key to victory, stop the run. I would bet the Saints try to establish the run a lot more than the Browns ever really tried to do, which I was a little bit surprised by, but I digress. Defense held up pretty well. Your run defense was very good in week 1, even better than the raw numbers suggest. A lot of that was garbage time stuff. The Saints ran the ball super well against the Panthers. Alvin Kamara, 15 carries, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Jamal Williams, a bit more garbage time reps there. Not nearly as impactful, but he's a powerful runner. 11 carries, 38 yards, and a score. Taysom Hill, the tight end, got plenty of touches, 5 carries, 35 yards. Derek Carr scrambled for 13 yards. Jordan Mims, garbage time, 4 carries, 11 yards. As a team, even with the garbage time touches, 37 carries, 180 yards, and almost 5 yards per carry. It's a really good ground game effort out of New Orleans. Now, again, Panthers are a bad team. You have to acknowledge that. It'll be tougher on New Orleans. But if they can, remember that Jordan Lewis, Alvin Kamara game a couple years ago? Do that again, and good things will probably happen. We'll get to my score prediction at the end of today's show, but I want to hear from you guys first in the comments section. Put your score predictions in there between the Cowboys and the Saints. Number 5, key to victory, no letdown game. You had it kind of last year against the Cardinals. Remember that? You just kind of laid an egg and had some extenuating circumstances, sure, but can't have that. Look, pretty much every team has a letdown game at some point. There are upsets in football any given Sunday, right? Just don't let it come in week 2. We have seen this Cowboys team over the last 20-something years, 30-something years almost, do it before. They get a little bit high on their own success, and they start thinking their stuff don't stink, and they have a letdown game, and it's their wake-up call, and they kind of rally a little bit there, but they cannot get overconfident. I'm sure that McCarthy can utilize that blowout win by the Saints to help them a little. Like, the Saints are a good team. Don't get high off your success. Stay focused and know that it's a long season. Got to win this one to set yourself up for the most success later on this season. So my score prediction. I think the Cowboys win this one, and I think they cover. I think a bit of a higher scoring affair, too. Give me the Cowboys 31-20 over the Saints in week 2 of the NFL season.